Hello there, and thanks for joining me. I'm Corel Painter Master Aaron Rutten, and in this video I'll show you how to create a custom palette using Corel Painter 2017. If you find that there's a lot of brushes and features that you're using all the time, it may save you some time to put all that content into a custom palette. Custom palettes can hold your favorite brushes, papers, flow maps, textures, gradients, patterns, weaves, looks, and image hose nozzles. They can also hold commands and shortcuts. So I have this example palette that I created here. I'm going to select the flow map chalk, paint with that a little bit, select the next brush, which is paper bristle glazing. That gives me a different effect. And we'll try paper spongy, yet another kind of brush. So those are all very handy. I can click on them in this custom palette. If I want to select a particular paper or flow map, I can do that, as well as any of this other media here. Let's try out some of the commands I added. I'm going to flip the canvas horizontal. If I make some changes to this brush that I'm using, let's say I make the opacity lower and I reduce the glazing and I change the merge mode to multiply, and I want to save a variant of this brush, I can use my shortcut here for save variant, and then I can give my brush a different name. I can call it paper spongy 2 and save it if I like. So that's an example of what you can do with a custom palette. Let's take a look at how to create a custom palette. I'm going to go ahead and just close this custom palette to get rid of it. And now let's create a custom palette by first selecting a brush. Let's try the airbrushes and then digital airbrush 2. I'm going to hold shift on my keyboard and then I'm going to drag this brush out of the brush selector. And I'm going to let go of the brush and the shift button at the same time. And now a custom palette is created with that brush inside of it. I can make this palette bigger if I like by dragging the sides, and I can reposition it. Let's add a paper to this palette. Let's go to Window, Palette Drawers. Let's select our Papers palette drawer. We'll want to be looking under the Paper Libraries tab. Let's say we want to add this small dots paper texture. I'll select it. And just like I did with the brush, I'm going to hold shift first, drag the paper, and then I'm going to let go of shift and the paper at the same time when it's on top of the palette, and then it stays within the palette there. I'm going to close the papers. Let's go to the flow maps. Let's go to Window, Palette Drawers, and then Flow Maps. Let's add a flow map. Let's choose this Find Dots, hold shift, drag the flow map, and release it inside of the custom palette. We can do that with some other types of media as well. Let's go to Weaves, and we'll also open up the palette drawer for texture painting, patterns, gradients, and image hose. And I'll just move those so that I can see each of them very easily here. Let's start with the image hose. I'm going to add this colorful flowers one. I'm going to select it, hold shift, drag it, and release it in the palette. Let's select a weave. Let's choose the weave library. Let's try this colorful plaid, holding shift, dragging it into the palette. Let's choose a pattern, maybe this decorative ginkgo pen, hold shift, drag it in. We can add a gradient. We'll hold shift, we'll drag it in. Let's add a texture. We'll go to texture libraries. Let's try construction paper, hold shift, drag it in. And we can go ahead and close all these palette drawers now. And we can quickly and easily get to all of this content now in the custom palette rather than having to hunt for it in the palette drawers. And it takes up less space on the screen. You can see I could make this really small and it could just stay up here. If I wanted to continue adding brushes, I could do that as well. I'll drag in a few more brushes here. Now this is showing you what the brush might look like, but if that's not helpful to you, you can also right-click on that icon and you can choose Text View. Or if you wanted to, you could choose Icon View, which just makes a smaller preview. Or if you want to create your own custom icons, you can do that. I'm going to go to Set Custom Icon, and I'll select a custom icon that I created for myself. The dimensions for this are 40 by 40, and I saved this as a PNG file. I'll select this icon here and click Open. Now you can see I've added my custom icon. If I want to do that for the other brush as well, I could do that. Here's my airbrush. Now let's take a look at how to add commands and shortcuts to our custom palette. That would be just about anything that you can find here in any of these menus, and also some things that are hidden in the sub-dialog menus as well. So to add a command to a custom palette, we want to go to Window, Custom Palette, and then Add Command. Now we can use this to add commands to a new palette or to create a palette, or we can add commands to a pre-existing palette, which is what I want to do. So I'm going to select the palette that I want to add the command to. Do I want to create a new palette, add it to Custom 2 or Custom 3? Custom 3 is the palette that we're working with here, so I'm going to choose Custom 3. And then all we have to do now is select a command from the menu bar or a palette menu. So any command we select, for example, if I select Edit, Cut, that could be a command. I'll click on Add. You can see cut appears over here. Let's add another command. All we have to do is simply select it. Let's try paste in place. We'll add that. Let's try something a little more exotic. Let's go to panel menus, brush palette, save variant, and we'll click on add. That adds it to that palette. We can hold shift if we want to rearrange these. So maybe I want to put all my shortcuts down on one line here. And let's add one more command. Let's go to other. And maybe we want to choose something like perspective distortion, and then we can distort our image. I'm going to go to add, click on OK. I'm going to hold shift to rearrange this. I'm going to create a new layer here just so we can test out these commands. I'll spray a little paint here. Then I'll click on perspective distortion, and you can see that I get my perspective distortion without having to go to free transform first. Now we can customize these custom palettes a little bit as well. If we click on the top right sub-dialog here, we can choose large icons if we want bigger, easier to see icons. We can change that back to small. We can also turn this into a palette drawer by clicking on the little gear here in the top right and choosing palette drawer. That way I can collapse and expand it, and I could add multiple custom palettes together into the same drawer if I wanted to. If we want to edit the name of our custom palette, we want to go to Window, Custom Palette, Organizer. And here we can delete custom palettes. We can rename custom palettes. We'll call this Aaron's Tools. Now we've renamed our palette. And you can, of course, export and import palettes. To export a palette, you'll go to Save as Box if you want to save it for Painter 2016, Painter 2017, or later. Or if you're going to save it for an older version of Painter, you can export it as the old PAL format. You do want to keep in mind that things that are in your custom palette are only going to work with versions of Painter that support that content. So for example, my texture and my gradient here are not going to work in versions of Painter that are older than Corel Painter 2017. When you're done organizing your palettes, you can go to Done. I could change the name of this palette drawer as well. Call this Custom Palettes, and maybe eventually I'll have multiple palettes here. Put it up in the corner, size it so it doesn't take up so much space, and there we go, I have my custom palette. Now if I accidentally close this at any time, I can always get it back by going to Window, Custom Palette, and then I'll select Aaron's Tools, and it reappears. And I also want to mention that custom palettes are saved with your workspace, along with all of the content that's inside of the custom palette. So there you go, that's a quick tutorial on how to create a custom palette. If you'd like to learn more about using Corel Painter, check out my video training course available at gumroad.com/AaronRutten. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.